Hello. This is first time live, not on gaming. Um, this wasn't expected to be made. It's kind of out of the blue, really. So don't expect anything. Sorry, I'll try to keep my hands away from my mouth. Usually I think like that, but now not having like an actual mic, this is being recorded on a phone as we are live. I don't have, a bunch of studio equipment here. Um, but I guess what the reason this is getting made is just because of technical issues as far as how we were our audio setup. It was really weird. We are having microphone issues. It wasn't working well, so we kind of had to. I'm kind of having to not redo it, but just kind of go through the things we were talking about. But I do want to make one thing clear. I won't be 100%. I won't be looking at the camera for probably the majority of the time because I am getting other stuff set up for other channels. It's the Magma Gaming and Entertainment channel. I'm trying to get more set up for that just so it's a little bit better. That's it. So if I'm not looking at the camera and I'm still talking about the stuff, just I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to. I don't know. Desensitize. I guess I don't know what you would call it. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But the main topics we went over. A was really the and I was struggling to talk about this just because I didn't want to do it impulsively, is the New Zealand shooting. Obviously, if you've heard about it, I doubt you haven't. I mean, it really is doubtful, but it's a tragedy. Nothing should have that should never have happened. It shouldn't even have been close. It was that guy is the definition of human scum in a nutshell, in a human form. He is the devil in human form. There's no reason for anybody to ever want to do something like that to another human being. I, I don't know what makes somebody want to do that, but they definitely deserve to rot in hell. I have no problem saying that whatsoever. Um, Sorry for my chair squeaking. But the main thing I have a problem with is it's not the I don't know how I don't live. It's a lot harder to try to rephrase this because I don't want to screw up. I don't want to waste your time, but it's hard for me to understand how they've decided to continuously ignore why this was able to happen. Everyone in that mosque didn't have a gun. They had to wait for somebody else with a gun. They had to wait. I'm not sure the exact time. I would assume somewhere around 5 to 10 minutes. I don't think it's too unreasonable of an estimate. 50 people were killed. If one of those 50 had a gun and was able to turn and shoot, I guarantee 50 people wouldn't have died. And that's what, and that's kind of where this direction is going. I have the utmost sympathy for everyone that was involved. The utmost sympathy for, oh, camera went out of focus. The utmost sympathy for just about. I don't I can't you can't even describe how terrible you feel after something like this happens. But the reaction needs to be proper. Otherwise, it's just going to happen again. What the Democrats failed to do, and not only the Democrats failed to do, but the Republicans failed to push the case of is this doesn't help, and it's what people ignore. It doesn't help. They just released I'm not sure if it was a mandatory buyback. I can probably find it real quick. Uh, New Zealand uh, buy buyback program. Gun buyback there. I'm not sure if it was not mandatory, mandatory. Um, I know there was a ban on some, at least if not most. But they declare assault rifles. I'm not sure if I can. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find what the details on the mandatory buyback were, or if it was a mandatory buy. I'm not sure. It could be. It could be unmandatory, but You're required to have a license. Screen for criminal. Yep. Not what I'm looking for. Oh, okay. Here we go. Supposedly, it's saying that this is correct. I'm not sure. Obviously, again, this is live. I didn't have time to fact check it because I'm kind of trying to get this out rather than be able to research for another week about it. But from what I can see, they're saying that it's all military-style semi-automatic weapons and assault rifles are now being banned. Related parts to convert the guns are also being banned. High-capacity mags. Basically, they said every weapon that the Christchurch killer used would now be illegal. That is a quote. And I understand why they're saying this. I understand what they think is going to happen because of this, but it doesn't help. When you look at why these things happen, and it's the one thing the left fails to do, they think that a gun is the reasoning, and it isn't. If somebody wants to kill somebody, they're going to kill them. It's the evil that's what the left doesn't want to admit. If they admit that, then their argument has no substance. Because what they try to do is they try to blame the gun. If the gun wasn't there, it wouldn't have happened. No, people kill people all the time without guns. Cars. Sometimes intentional. There was, I think it was 2016. Some guy at it might have been in North Carolina. I think but to a point being, he ran a truck through a crowd, and this was for again evil purposes. But it just goes to show, if you ban guns, people will find ways to attack. It's not you're not preventing all violence from happening and occurring and everything else about that. That doesn't prevent anything. All it does is it makes you, I guess, desensitize the public. And that's all it really accomplishes. It doesn't help anyone. It really helps no one. But yet the Democrats in New Zealand now thinks this is the right answer. They think now by taking away law-abiding citizens' guns that they will now get to prevent this, and that's not how it's going to work. All it's going to do is the next time it happens, make it worse. I don't want to say more guns is the answer because I don't necessarily. I don't know that. I don't know if, but what I do know is if somebody in there had a gun, it would have stopped it. You could have stopped it right then and there. Now I can't guarantee he would have used it. The person could have been in there, didn't feel comfortable using the gun. Can't fix that. I can't make somebody stop a threat. I can't guarantee that no shootings will ever happen again because a populace is armed. But what I do know is when you look at populaces that are disarmed, you don't see any correlation between that and violent crime. What I do know is violent crime in the U.S. has been going down whilst we have, I think, 1.2 or 1.4 guns per person. We have we have 300 million guns for 300 million people ish. I think it's a little bit more per person. But you see when we have that happening that our violent crime rate goes, for you guys it'll go like this, it'll go down. But when you look at our places that are a little bit more regulated, you see violent crime rate up higher. And so instead of going like this, maybe it's maybe they're still going down, but they're not going down quite as much. And that's what you see. That's the correlation you see. Because they fail to realize how a good guy with a gun works. They think that because there's a bad guy with a gun who maybe got the guns illegal. I'm not sure about these guns. I'm not sure about the mosque shooting here, but in general, most shootings don't happen with legal guns. Most murders don't happen with legal guns. but there are CDC, I think it's the organization that did the research, and they found that about at least 500,000 lives a year are saved because of even just the presence of a gun. Because because if you brand a rifle, if you show a gun, to a criminal, he's less likely to try to come there. And when you say we're gun free, we don't use guns here. We don't believe in guns. You see that people are a little bit more willing to rob that place. It makes a little bit of sense. You don't go to the place that's going to shoot you to rob. I don't know. Maybe they just don't understand how to rob places. They obviously don't understand things. Um, which brings us. I'm going to leave it at that. If you disagree, leave a comment. It's just a general review of how that's working. I just don't know how to say it other than you don't disarm good people with guns because a bad person with a gun killed. Because the only way to stop that is by a good person with a gun. It's either waiting for the police to get there to be the good person with a gun, or being able to put to a stop to it then. And that's what the left and Democrats don't want. Our next topic of today is the Electoral College attack. Really, I don't really know where this sense comes from. Because the Democrats, they pride themselves on fighting for the minority, fighting for the small man, fighting for everybody who's not able to have a voice. And actually, leave a comment down in the description. What do you think is the most victimized person, what victimized group in America as of now? In America, I don't believe truly, at least by racial, sexual lines, any line you can draw as far as personnel type, I don't think you can find it. I think the only way you can see any sort of discrimination is when you look towards intellectual consistencies and intellectual thoughts and behaviors. I think that's where you see a lot of the discrimination occurring today, but I may be wrong. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. But I guess the Electoral College, they now say, is unfair because it gives a little bit more power to smaller states. I think it's in California, it's like one electoral point, I guess, if you want to say. It is like 88,000 voters, but in North Dakota, where there's less people, it's about, sorry, it's the other way around. I'm sorry. In California, it's like 144, I believe, and then in North Dakota, it's like 88,000 to one electoral point. I can't even think of the word, but and they said this is unfair because this is skipping out the small people. This is skipping out on some of the people's votes, and then it's limiting some of their power. And there's an image that really startled me, and I don't think on a phone I can pull it up. I really wish I could. Yeah, I can't. I really wish I could, but yeah. But it was a really startling image just because of the reality of it, and it showed why we needed the electoral colleges. If you look at the population rates, not rates. I don't know why I said that. That was a dumb word. But if you look at the population per county, and you look at it, you don't need to win a lot of counties just to win the election by the popular vote. Because then, if we go just by pure democracy, pure, voting system of populist vote is only that, you end up with L.A., San Francisco, San Diego, maybe just a few cities in Florida, Orlando, Tampa Bay, Miami, New York, Buffalo. Really, you don't even need Buffalo. Detroit, Indianapolis. You don't need to win a lot of places to get the popular vote. And this is a huge problem when it comes to arguing against the Electoral College. Because then you have people who are prioritizing their needs in, per se, a city, now ruling on people that they have no idea what their lives are like. You have liberal hippies in California saying stop using, fossil fuels. telling the person in West Virginia that they can't now mine coal because it pollutes the air. It's a ridiculous thought, and that was the sole reason that I think Hillary lost in West Virginia and Virginia, because they went in and said we are putting the coal industry out of business, and we saw that worked out. But this is I believe a losing argument for Democrats in general. I don't think there's a big chance of them winning on this topic just because they're not very smart. I try not to tell people that they're not smart because they're just not good at things, but the Democrats are really, really, really bad on protecting the small guy, because all of their programs only end up helping themselves. You look at the reason, like the I can't remember the law's name, but the point of it was that it would target banks to give loans to minorities that necessarily couldn't. The banking crisis, that's what started this. But they said we're going to protect the small guy, we're going to protect minorities. So you know what, banks, you have to give loans to. At the time, it was really blacks. So, but minority groups in general, people who may not necessarily be able to pay them off, which is the only real reason a bank would give you a loan, is if they know you can pay it back. This allowed the banks to crash because they were forced to give out loans to people who couldn't pay them back, and then they couldn't pay them back. Surprise. Then they decided we don't have any more money to give out loans, and then banking crisis happened, and then they blamed Republicans for the crisis in the first place, and it's like it was your law that caused this. But and that's what I'm saying. That kind of brings around to the point of this mentality of we're fighting for the small guy without actually helping. I'm surprised it's worked for the Democrats this long, because it's just so obvious how anti-minority they actually are. Not only that they founded the KKK. You could go into the whole history of what they've done, and it just doesn't help their case at all. Speaking of cases, brings us to our next topic. Michael Cohen, that whole hearing and not conspiracy, but he had his hearing in front of Congress, lied again. We'll get to all that in a minute, but what does it truly mean? Not a lot. Honestly, it really doesn't mean a lot. Mostly because what is there? What do you have against him? It doesn't make a total amount of sense. Basically, you have a guy saying, yeah, I lied for an hour. And, it just struggles to really prosecute Trump with anything, which is a real question as far as, like, why are they considering this such a victory? Because what did they win? They just had a guy say what he said months ago. But if you don't know, Michael Cohen is a guy who lied in front of Congress. He was Trump's lawyer, lied in favor of Trump, got caught in the lie. He's now being prosecuted for, I believe, serving 9 months in prison in about 3 months. I may be wrong on how long he's being sentenced, but point being, he testified in front of Congress again, said, yes, I lied in favor of Trump, and they tried to pin this on Trump, saying, yep, you told him to lie, that's a crime, blah, 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 blah. Trump never said it, is essentially where I'm getting at here. Trump never at any point mentioned the fact that he needed him to lie. He never told him to lie. What Michael Cohen said was, when you've worked with him long enough, like Cohen had, you would know what he would want you to do. Or that Trump, and I believe later on, I'm not sure exactly what point in the hearing, but he said also that Trump has a look, and when he gives you that look, you know what he wants you to do. So what the Democrats are saying they're going to pin Trump for is looking. So if you want to stay in Elizabeth Warren's good side, just remember to close your eyes, and then you won't have any problems, because they will they'll be fighting for you. So what this really, again, it just doesn't mean anything. None of this means anything. It's not a big dig on Trump. You're gonna prosecute him for looking. You're gonna no. What and what's even funnier? What's the funniest part about all this is I caught him lying again. Oh my gosh, camera. As soon as I look up, it goes completely out of focus. But they caught him lying again. He was talking about how they were in the middle of the hearing. They mentioned how he maybe some motive for this. They're trying to find some sort of motive. They found that he wanted a position in the White House, and when he questioned upon it, Cohen obviously said, "No, I'm perfectly happy where I am. I didn't want to. I wasn't wanting a position in the White House. That's just where we are." It's really difficult to say that when they have reports of you doing that and saying you wanted a position in the White House and that you were kind of angry that Trump didn't give it to you. Maybe there's something going on there. I don't know. Maybe that's not why he's doing this. Maybe it is. I'm going to scoot my camera over a little bit. Thank you very much. Thank you for not being angry. Sorry. But so the guy who's prosecuted for lying is now the star pupil, and they caught him lying again. That's what's there. Ridiculous. Something we talked about in the pre-recorded episode that didn't end up getting out was this feminist style of raising children, and I'm not going to be able to find the article again. I might be able to. While I talk about the general topics of it, I'll try to find it, and if I can, then I'll go again point by point like we did in the pre-recorded episode. If I can't, sorry, but I might have to go here. But basically, the gist of this article was a lot of it wasn't even about feminism in general. I don't know how a lot of it had to do with raising a feminist boy. And that's what the article was titled. Missed boys. I spelled boys wrong, but that's fine. Oh, I was able to find it. Okay. Here we go. I'll just wait for this to load. Sorry, the computer's a little slow. Yeah. Decline. Okay. It's alright. Alright. Ian's calling. If you want something, no. This is not the part of the article I'm looking for. And I will link the article later on. Here we go. Okay. Feminism does not, number one, feminism does not mean feminine. It means equality. If you look at the current party of feminists, this third wave feminism, that absolutely means feminine. It does 100%. They not only push for certain scholarships to only be given to women, they not only push for men not to be allowed to hold open doors, which this article, I'll give this particular article credit. They did mention that that's not sexist. It's just something being nice. So I will give this article credit. I'm not sure if I can find the author. Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, but point being, Scary Mommy is the Christine Organ. I give you credit. Take the credit while it's here. Take it while it's hot. But where was I before I started to give credit? Yeah, but if you're looking at this current feminist party, that's exactly what it's about. It's really about demonizing men, not only with this fake rape culture, but with the scholarships and with the pay gap, the gender pay gap myth. It really, which is really funny because Google did their analysis and found that women are actually getting paid more than men. Women are getting paid more than women at Google. No, women are getting paid more than men at Google, so I want some equality. Just saying, I want some equality. I will not have this in my dojo. But, point being, number two, being a boy doesn't mean you can't be a feminist nowadays, liking sports and burgers and action movies. Just liking jewelry and makeup, taking my husband's last name and getting manicures don't make me any less of a feminist. And that's precise. She makes her only point. I mean, in this point, it's a little bit more combatant against this third wave feminism than anything. And I'm not sure if it was intended. If it was, I'll give you credit. If not, I don't think how you realized how anti this third wave feminism this truly is. And I say this because being a boy doesn't mean you can't be a feminist. Absolutely. If you're talking first party feminism, equality between the genders, absolutely. Neither does liking sports and burgers and action movies. I'm assuming she means just because you like those things, you can't be a feminist. She's just because you like those things doesn't mean you can't be a feminist. That's what I was trying to say here. But what she's trying to imply here, just like wearing jewelry and makeup and taking my husband's last name and getting manicures don't make me any less of a feminist. And I think this comes from, and this is what I can interpret from this, I think this comes from the blue-haired, pink-haired, fat, ugly, whatever you want to call them, feminists out there. I'm not trying to body shame. I've talked about this in a speech I gave a while ago. I don't promote going and calling a woman fat, ugly, any of that. But what this new feminist movement tries to imply is that you can't. Otherwise, you're sexist or you're a bigot. Now, I will say that, there's the difference between being factual and being a jackass. Huge difference. But what the Feminist Party tries to imply is that you shouldn't be allowed to say these things because they hurt feelings. No, that's obviously not true. And this in particular, like taking your husband's last name, getting manicures, and make me a less feminist, because this new ways of feminism implies that you shouldn't have to be decent. That's why it's okay to be fat. That's why it's okay to not care. It's okay to be a bitch. Is because that's what this new wave of feminism is. That's why I'm against it. Number 3, it's okay to cry, but as with all expressions, take care of it and do so in a responsible and a respectful way. It doesn't have anything to do with feminism. Yeah, sure. I mean, I assume this is pointing at guys saying that they have to be macho. No, okay, I understand that. I understand why you would be upset about that. No, yeah, okay, I agree with this. Yeah, it's okay to cry if you have to, but yeah, don't be one of those whiny asshats. It's not a play. Crying isn't an emotion that you're supposed to show all the time, especially as a man. But yes, in certain scenarios, yes, okay. Well, I'll agree. Be friends with girls. Sure. I mean, I assume that it's saying you don't have to just date a girl to be around her. You can be just casual friends with a girl. Of course, I don't know anybody who doesn't have a casual friend as a girl. I don't know one. I hang out with plenty of girls all the time. I don't see I don't see what point that's really making. I don't see what stance that is taking on feminism and how that's a solid point. But then again, I don't think you also need to be friends with a bunch of girls to be considered a feminist. I mean, maybe I just don't like hanging out with girls outside of that, but I don't see a problem with it. I have, like I said, plenty of friends that are girls. Girls can like trucks, superheroes, Star Wars, just like boys can like princesses, tea parties, and My Little Pony. Again, you're just repeating what people have been saying for years. You're not really saying anything that's new, which is the main problem I have with this article. Is you're just repeating everything that feminists have been repeating for years. Yeah, obviously girls can, girls can be tomboys. That's we have a term for that when girls like generally boy things, and we stereotype these things just because we want to teach our guys to be strong. That's not a bad thing. And guys just typically like trucks, superheroes, and Star Wars, and girls typically like more princessy, Tea Party, and My Little Pony. Girls tend to like certain things. Guys tend to like certain things. It's not a bad thing. But yes, obviously it can go the other way around. Okay, come on. My mouse just, did it shut off? I don't think it shut. Okay, no, it didn't shut off. But the phrases like a man or like a girl hold no real meaning, ignore them. No, I mean, they kind of do. They do. And, per se, somebody says you hit like a girl. I don't know if you've noticed, but most girls don't hit that hard. I've never been hit hard by a girl. Yeah, I mean, you're implying that there's in this scenario you're implying that there's no difference between the genders. Yes, there obviously is. Guys are typically stronger. You take your average middleweight guy and he would kick the crap out of just about any girl. But so yeah, they obviously hold some sort of meaning. But again, if you're defying if you're going to defy yourself on being a man, like the big macho guy, then yeah, of course that doesn't really mean anything. But yes, when you're and sometimes it's motivational. Sometimes like I made this in the pre-recorded episode. Sometimes you would I don't know if this is how all dads motivate. It may not be, but my dad has told me lift it like a man, pull like a man, whatever. Maybe when we were in the weight room or outside of that, maybe we were baling hay. Lift it like a man. It's not a insult. It's not saying a girl can't do it. It's just a boy wants to be a man. A boy wants to grow up to be a man. That's how that works. So, yeah, okay, whatever. Be strong and sensitive. The two are not incompatible. I messed up there, but they're not compatible. But yeah, I mean, again, yeah, sure. Yes, that's what we pride men on being. That's why, earlier when I said, men don't have to cry at every single thing, that's what I mean. That's precisely what I mean. And, it's kind of the same point. Yeah, a guy should be a man should be somebody who can persevere through things, persevere through tough times, lead his family out. That's what, you should be. That's what the man of the family is supposed to be. But that doesn't also mean you can't be sensitive and understand and, you don't have to be the big macho guy. I've returned to that point multiple times, but it's just true. So, number 8, your penis does not give you special privileges. It is simply part of your anatomy. It makes you a human with all the pleasures and obligations that the human experience offers. It's only as if there were some privileges only given to women because they have vaginas. Such as the scholarships talked about earlier, the pay gap at Google, just for having a vagina. You could go on and on. Women out of college are actually ended up paying more, get paid more than people than boys out of college. Girls out of college get paid more than boys out of college. Phrase it a little bit better there. But also, I mean, when you start to talk about the course of public opinion as far as, rape cases go, a girl accuses a guy falsely of rape, nothing happens. Sounds like there's a little bit of privilege there. Number 9, the point I made earlier, holding doors open for women, it's not a sexist tradition, but, it's just because it's kind of polite. Yep, I agree. 100%. Good job. Girl might look pretty, attractive, cute, sexy, but true beauty comes from within. Guys we don't marry girls just because they're hot. That's okay. Again, what point are you trying to make there? Oh, you look for personality. If almost every other Democrat hadn't said that. Not even Democrat. If only every other person hadn't said that. Yeah, guys don't get married to girls that we don't enjoy hanging out with. That's just how it works. A marriage is just because we're friends, essentially friends with benefits, except exclusive. Honestly, it's just because we're willing to put up with each other's bullcrap because we enjoy being around each other so much. That's what marriage is truly. 11, pay for dinners and buy her flowers, not because that will make her more likely to have one sex or fall in love. Do it just because it's a nice thing to do, and if I had dollars, I would tell them to offer to pay for dinner and buy him flowers because, again, it's a nice thing to do. Maybe buying a guy flowers isn't the best way to go. Again, stereotypes, but, But, yeah, again, yeah, of course, I've taken people out to eat. I always pay. I've never had somebody pay for me. If I had to, maybe I didn't have enough. I didn't think we were going to spend that much. Okay, I always paid them back, so sure. We'll give you that. I have section here, but basically no means no. Yes means yes. She's going to make that exact same point later on, so we're just going to kind of skip it, and then on the later on point, mention it again and go through it a little bit. Oh, sorry. It was the very next one. I completely forgot that. This is why we're doing this live. Ugh. Yep. Again, yes, of course. But, regret isn't rape. I'll leave that at that. For number 14, surround yourself with people who invite you to be your best. Be wary of people who want to change you. That's just a life lesson. That's not even having to do with feminism. 15, equal work deserves equal pay. Exactly. That's why Google, you are absolutely sexist. I hate all of you. As I'm posting on YouTube. As I'm live on YouTube, I'm going to talk about how I hate Google. So that's good. Good. Good content. Definitely, they're not going to hate this. 16, your gender does not define you, neither does your job, car, bank account. Be kind and be brave. Be a good friend and a hard worker, and treat everyone with respect. Again, that was the same point as earlier. Your penis doesn't define you. You know, okay, we've already talked about it. No reason to keep on it. If you get married one day, your spouse may or may not take your last name. Neither has anything to how much he or she loves you. That's just it's kind of it's a tradition usually for the woman to take the guy's last name. Obviously, it's not required, but typically that's what happens. Not making a huge point there, but yeah, I guess it doesn't determine how much he or she loves you. Maybe she want the family her to keep her family name, but it doesn't matter because the kids go in the dad's name anyway. So okay. 18. There are more ways to provide for your family than financially. Yeah, I mean, obviously, staying at home, taking care of the kids is a big aspect. Um, Being able to clean the house, do dishes, laundry, obviously all help. But the biggest factor, yes, is financial. There are more ways, but financial, especially in a capitalist economy, is definitely the best way to help. Saying that isn't already taken care of. If their financial future is already taken care of, then yeah, there's other ways you can probably help better. Um, 19, do basically make this. I'm not going to bore you with reading all of it. The point of it is that it is do what's best for your family, whether it be financial, professional, emotional, psychological. Yeah, obviously it's the same point as above. There's other ways to help. That just lists the ways you can help outside of being financially responsible and independent, etc. Even the most commercials and just about every sitcom, some message to the contrary. Men are capable of making the beds, doing laundry, changing diapers. No one ever says this ever. And what TV are you watching? Seriously, the TV, the media has become such a force of feminism. I don't understand how you can even start to entertain the idea that that is what's mainstream right now. Don't be afraid to apologize. It's not a strength. It's not a sign of weakness, but a brave act of courage and strength. Yeah, don't be afraid to apologize. But again, also kind of with the crying thing, just don't be doing it all the time. 22. If my computer screen will stop freezing. I'm sorry. Okay. Never take granted privileges you have, whether financial, educational, racial, cultural, or otherwise. Again, there's no racial privileges. There isn't. Outside of biological, which you can't fight, no, there's no racial privileges. Continue to fight for the rights of those who do not enjoy the same privileges. Exactly. That's why I'm a huge supporter of ending Sharia law in the Middle East and opening up, non-dictatorships. It's also why I'm in favor of the capitalist society in Venezuela and anywhere, really. I mean, number 23, be sensitive, empathetic, and compassionate. Same point as earlier, be strong and sensitive. But you even use the same word, sensitive. Look at these last two. Actually, there's only one point, and then the last point is actually just, hey, listen to these points. Her last point is saying, hey, listen, because I don't know why. I don't know why she didn't have 25 points. This is really only like four. There's really only like 5 to 6 points that have to do with feminism and as a whole, but supposedly there's 25 of them. I scrolled too far. Okay, if I can get this last point in, we'll end the stream here. Oh, come on, just a little bit higher. I mean, wait, I just saw. It says there may be differences between sexes, but don't stereotype. And don't be afraid of the differences. Yeah, that's exactly what we've been saying about this feminist movement for years. Why are you afraid that men and women are different? It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, obviously one puts it in, one takes. I mean, outside of that, men are bigger, strong, typically stronger, have, better, not better, I guess, per se, but yeah, thicker bone density. Uh, Outside of that, typically men like different things. They have a little bit more testosterone. It's not bad necessarily, depending on how you use it. But then again, it's not necessarily bad as a woman to have, to be able to not grow a beard, because men typically don't like that. It's there's differences between the sexes, obviously, and yes, those are beautiful things. The difference is art, really, and genetics as a whole. But with that, we're gonna end the stream here. I thank you all for watching this kind of surprise episode of Peeling Onions. Maybe we'll do a little bit more live stuff more often. Maybe not. Probably not, because I prefer a little bit of post-production to give me something to do after the show. We'll see you guys all later.